Hi, hello. I've got this to show you. I'm so excited. I'm finally, as I have talked about in many videos, going to make a fully lined blazer. This is my first time. I'm a little nervous, but I think I'm ready. And I found this fabric on Mood Fabrics online, and I saw it, so I got the swatch, and I really love it. It's a cotton and polyester woven, mostly cotton. It's sort of a mid-weight. It's a negative space floral, is what they call it. So, and I got this silk lining, which I will hold it up to it kind of matches the sky blue in the background there. So I think it's going to be very pretty. Hi, it's been what, like about a month since I've been on the tube. I am an actor and writer living in New York City, and I made a short film last year that I wrote and I directed and I acted in it. And the post-production's been going on for months, and it finally finished up in March. And I had a screening with cast and crew and friends and family. I'll put up some images, and it was just so gratifying to see the whole thing finally come together on a big screen. So yeah, that was taking up all my headspace and all my time. And now I'm going to be submitting it to festivals. That's really what you do with a short film. Hopefully I'll get into a few. I can go to the festivals. I can meet more people and, find more opportunities to work and do what I love. So that's what's been going on. All right, let's get to it. Cutting out this fabric. I am nervous. I'm always nervous to cut out. It wasn't inexpensive. I guess it's just the commitment I am making to making the jacket. And it's like, am I going to like it? How's it going to turn out? I feel like that with almost everything I sew. Like I envision it. I feel like I have a pretty good imagination to envision the clothes, but you don't really know until you put it on your body. So, but it's the process, right? Not just the result, it's the process. So, all right, here we go. One more thing before I start cutting out, I wanted to make sure that it fit. This is the Maker's Atelier blazer. So I went ahead and cut it. I didn't line it, but I just cut the basic shape and put it together, and I'm real happy with it. It actually fits me great. It has a kind of casual fit, which is, as you can see from the photo, the objective of the pattern. So yeah, I don't really have to alter anything. It's going to work. So I'm going to take you through step by step. I'm going to go slow. This might be a longer video, but I think it's helpful to see all the pieces as they happen. So let's go. I've got it all laid out. I'm ready to cut. Yeah. So here we go. Oh, total tangent. I just got this book in the mail. I read it before and I got it from the library, and I couldn't get it from the library this time, and I love it so much, and I just had an urge to read it again. I try to listen to those things that come up in me that I don't really know why, but I suddenly want to read something. So I went ahead and bought a used copy, actually. Louise Nevelson is a fine artist. She has a lot of pieces here at the Museum of Modern Art, and I think at the Met also. But her story is incredible. And again, I just felt like reading it again. And it's a great biography. Like some biographies are a little dull and don't work. This one's really good. I'll just read you the opening sentence so you have a clue of what this is about. Louise Nevelson's life was the quintessential American success story. An immigrant invents a new identity for herself and achieves fame in the new world. The thing is, she didn't get recognized for her work until she was well into her 60s. She was uprooted twice, first from the Tsarist Russia in early childhood, then from Maine in 1920 when she left for New York as a young bride. Her artistic maturity coincided with the blossoming of American art in mid-20th century, and although she was never embraced by any aesthetic movement, By the end of her life, she was regarded as integral to the Renaissance of American sculpture, and her work was in the collections of the world's major museums. I'll put up a couple of images of her work. I love it. I just love it. Okay, enough of that tangent. Let me start cutting. I wish I had one of those large, high cutting tables. I only have this dedicated sewing space because this was my youngest daughter's bedroom, and she grew up and moved out. Otherwise, cliche, child leaves, take over their bedroom and turn it into a sewing room. That's what I did. But yeah, I'd love to have a table that's up here, so I'm not bending over, but I'm happy to have this. I'm not gonna complain. So after I have everything cut out, I always mark all the pattern pieces, notches, darts, etc. So I tried on this to use chalk pencil, but it just wasn't working. There were so many colors on the wrong side of the fabric that I couldn't see what I was doing. And what the pattern actually suggests is to mark the darts with just a stitch of thread hanging out. I've never done that before, and I did it, and I thought it was smart, and it worked really well, and it's more precise than marking with pencil. Now I'm cutting the inner facing for the front facing and the collar. Question: right and wrong side to this silk lining. It looks exactly the same to me. This is one side, this is the other side. I don't see the difference. Maybe the selvage is a clue. I don't see it. All right, I'm going with it's fine. It's fine. It's always a little tricky cutting this very thin, slippery fabric. So I'm using the rotary cutter, and those are beach rocks that my kids painted years and years ago when they were young that I love to use as weights. Now I'm ironing on the inner facing. Those are small pieces I also cut for the top of the pockets and the collar and the front facing. Finally starting the sewing process. Sew the darts from the neck down and also the waist darts and press them away from the center. Next, sew the side panels of the jacket to the fronts. With right sides together, pin the lining to the outer pocket and sew along the top edge, leaving a 4 centimeter gap in the center. Then press the seam allowance toward the lining so that the bottom of the lining and the bottom of the pocket line up. Then stitch around the outer edge of the entire pocket except for the top that's folded over. Don't stitch that down. Then clip and trim the seam allowances and turn it right side out. Place the pockets on the front of the jacket, lining up the top edge with those slip stitches that I made earlier. Pin and stitch in place. I measured from the top down where the pockets started on each piece to make sure they were even, and also from the center front. Sew the two back pieces together down the center seam and press the seam open, and then sew the back to the side panels, again pressing the seam open. Then right sides together, sew the shoulder seams together and press the seams open. Okay, we're starting to see the shape here. I kind of like this contrasting lapel, but you know, I've already cut the fabric for the facing that will be the same as this, so I'm not going to do that, but it looks kind of cool. With right sides together, pin the lower sleeve to the upper sleeve along the side with the placket, stitch the seam, then snip the corner above the placket, press the seam open and the placket towards the upper sleeve, and then pin and stitch the other seam and press that one open also. Pin the sleeve to the armhole, matching the underarm seams and the notch at the upper sleeve to the shoulder seam, stitch in place. I was really wrestling with this. There's so many turns in an armhole trying to get it all together, but I eventually got it there. Okay, I got the sleeves on and the shape is taking place. And mostly at this stage, the sleeves look bigger than they are because there's a fold in there that's falling out at the moment. Mostly at this stage, I ask myself, how do I feel? Like now that the fabric is, shirt's sticking out, now that the fabric is, you know, letting itself be known. And I have to say, I really like it. Not just saying that, because sometimes, you know, you put stuff together and it's not feeling good, but I can imagine myself wearing it. I mean, jeans and blouses are basically my uniform, so I can imagine this being thrown on over a lot of that. Okay, what's next? Finishing up the cuffs. Collar, I think, is next. Onward. Turn up the sleeve cuff by 3 centimeters, press and pin in place. Then with right sides together, fold the collar in half lengthwise, pin and stitch just the ends, a 1/2 centimeter seam allowance. Snip the corners, turn through and press. Right sides together, pin one side of the collar to the neck of the jacket, starting at the center back and moving out to each end. Check that the collar ends are equidistant to the jacket edge and stitch in place. I started stitching the neck of the jacket to the collar. I put the jacket on top because I wanted to make sure that there was no puckering and the seam allowances stayed open, and the collar fabric with the interfacing was much more solid and stiff. But as I was going, they started to get more and more out of line as the presser foot was pushing the top fabric, the jacket, ahead of the collar. So I finally stopped, I pulled it out, and I switched over to the walking foot, which worked so much better. And I should have done that from the beginning. I kept it on for the rest of the project. Now I'm attaching the front lining to the side panel of the lining. That's crazy. Maybe when I put on the walking foot, I unscrewed this probably because it's attached over the screw for the needle. Okay, crisis averted, I think. Pin the 2 back pieces of the lining together and stitch through, press the seam open, and then pin the back to the side panels, stitch through and press the seam open. Because I could not tell the difference between the 2 different sides on the lining, I didn't worry about it, thought it didn't really matter. I just had to take apart 2 pieces that I sewed together because this is the side panel in the front lining, and they have to be symmetrical. I have 2 different sides, and I made the 2 sides identical. Details, right? Usually I label my pieces right and wrong side, even when the fabric is hard to tell. I just got a little lazy, a little quick this time and didn't do it. Going forward, I'm going to do it. I only have the sleeve pieces left. So, live and learn, keep going. Now I am stitching the shoulder pieces together of the lining, and then I will do the upper sleeve to the lower sleeve, both seams, and press the seams open. Stitch the sleeve lining to the jacket lining, right sides together. Right sides together, so the facing to the front. Stop 1 centimeter before the side neck and sew all the way down and around the curve, sandwiching the collar in between. I've got the lining pinned to the jacket along the facing here, the front facing, and the collar, and down the other side. I've right sides together. Obviously, you can see inside there how it's going to get turned. I had to really stare at it and double check and triple check to make sure, you know, sometimes you make a silly, obvious mistake, and I just don't want to do that. I don't want to have to take any of this out and redo it. So, feeling fairly confident now, I'm going to sew. One more detail, at the top corner of the facing, I have to turn a corner when I sew. Where this seam is, and this isn't a seam, but it's cut at an angle, and then here's the collar. And I don't like doing things, you know, not as attractive as I can do it, so I don't feel like I know what I'm doing on sewing this corner. I think I'll leave it turned like this and sew to here and pivot the needle. Anyway, these are the things I need to keep learning as I go. Okay, I'll do this with you. I have to do some trimming and stuff, but I just want to turn this right side out and make sure I did it right. There's my tag, that's in there. Okay. Is it the sleeve? I'll put through into the sleeve, that's right. Sleeve, put through into the sleeve. I have to figure that out. Okay, this is being a little funky. Maybe it just needs to be pressed. I don't know, not a huge deal, but you know, I did it. Oh my God, so stressful lining something. I've done it a few times, but it stresses me out every time. Okay, I'll show you this in better form. On the inside, hemming, cuffs, buttons, pressing. Oh boy, getting there. I finished the cuffs, the hand stitching. It didn't say to do this, but before I sewed the lining to the sleeve fabric, I put the buttons in because it just seemed a lot easier than trying to keep it from going through the lining as I was sewing. So I put the buttons on. Then I folded this over. It was 3 centimeters. Folded the lining 1 centimeter and hand stitched it. I need to do that to the hem next. So I had a button adventure. I have this tin of buttons that I have been pulling from to find pairs for so long, and it's actually been kind of great, but I couldn't find 3 buttons for the front and the cuffs matching. There was like no way. So as you saw, I ended up with those small kind of brownish beigeish buttons, which were great for the cuffs. I was with my daughter in Brooklyn, and I went to this button store, and it was really dark and tiny, and there was 1,000 buttons, and I kept looking and looking. And I got these because I thought, okay, these will work. And then I got outside in the sunlight and they're black. They're not navy. And so they're just, it's too much with everything going on in the fabric. So I found these two, which I really like. And I was digging for a third and I didn't find a third, but this one's really close. So I think this is what I'm gonna do for now. You know, I can always replace it. I found these two, which I also thought would be a good look. But I couldn't find a third. So, and then I went through a zillion ideas for the cuffs. But anyway, as you saw, I settled on the beige brownie, which worked great. Spring is finally here in New York. It's so beautiful out. There's a little chill in the air, but I decided to go outside and film this last part for you all. I'm so pleased with this project. I love the way the blazer looks, but also just accomplishing it. As I said in the beginning, I've been wanting to do this for years probably, and now I finally made a lined blazer. I've got many more ideas of things I want to do. I want to make a suit. I want to make different styles of blazers, but I really love this. And when I went to my closet to figure out what to put on to show you all, it went with so many different things. That's sort of the upside of the eclectic nature of the fabric, I think. I will put links below to everything that I'm wearing with it. Most of these blouses I've made. And in terms of the pattern, it was great. I highly recommend it. It was very straightforward. It was very clear. I didn't get confused. I could follow everything, and it just made sense, which is, you know, a relief. And I'm really happy about it. All right, well, thank you so much for watching this rather long video, and I'll be back soon. I have a couple more spring sewing projects lined up right away. It won't be so long until I'm back again. And yeah, I hope you all are doing well. Okay, see you soon.